vacant for historical record. I'm going to give the chronology, the history behind Lobsterman, Maine's first superheroes. And to begin with, I had returned home in the 80s, somewhere 84, 85, from a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And my first job when I got home was working for McDonald's in Belfast, owned and operated by Jethro and Diana Pease. And my training took place during the daylight hours. So I was asked to arrive and at crossover from like 10 o'clock. And working on the grill, the 10-1 grill, was this swarthy, as my mother would say, swarthy little fellow, probably 5'4", maybe 99 pounds, dark complected and dark hair, dark eyes. A kid from Carteret, New Jersey, which of all places, a transplant. His name was Brian K. Pusillo. His mother had named him Brian Keith after her favorite actor. Pusillo was his dad's name, obviously. Al and Irene Pusillo. Nice folks. Transplants, but nice folks. Well, Brian was in the process of teaching me some of the grill techniques in the McDonald's Handbook of Instructions. And we got to know each other a little bit, and I discovered that Brian had a very dry sense of humor, very wry, as they say. And discovered as the days went on that Brian and I had similar backgrounds, hobbies. We both liked to write, and Brian was into movies. I discovered that he had his own camcorder, and as time went on, we began to do projects together, making films, little, stupid little films like Gilligan's Island Revisited, unfortunately, in parentheses, and other little things, little horror films, some of them were 20 minutes to an hour long. And while we were doing those things, we discovered that, the writing thing was, obviously near and dear to both of us. Brian and his friend Mike Groton, who also worked at McDonald's with us for a little while, created a magazine called Fang, F-A-N-G. It was a horror anthology, and I became an associate editor and writer. I actually did a couple of stories in there, co-wrote with Brian. And Brian was perfect with his literary skills, and me not so much. But I could tell a story. I could spin a yarn, and I was very good at dialogue. So from there, Brian and I started working on a couple of manuscripts like, Warriors of the Gods, which was half comedy, some drama about aliens and their influence. And we made, no progress. We finished the manuscripts, but never actually got around to sending them in to any publishing companies. But in the interim, Fang put out 3 issues and closed their doors. In an effort to try and keep them from closing their doors and get out the 3rd issue, I bought Fang magazine from Tangram Publishing, which was where I actually bought Tangram Publishing, from Mike and Brian, for the sum, I think, of $300, which is what it was going to take for them to get out issue 3. And issue 3 did not produce. I think they might have sold 100 copies, but that definitely did not break even. So Tangram and Fang passed away, but Brian and I continued working on an idea and formulated Lobsterman, Maine's first superheroes. It was my idea, but Brian helped me flesh it out. And the first cover actually ended up to be cover number 4. It was done by a painter, Dennis Arbor. And it didn't end up being on issue number one because there was some threat of litigation. Dennis thought he should have been paid for the work as an artiste, but he had also solicited rides to and from the hospital from Brian for a broken ankle and therapy. And in exchange, Brian ended up doing doing it for the painting. So it was not a gift. It was actually payment in lieu of cash. So that's why the black and gold cover with the gold lobster, black background was done by Warren Bump Scott, who became our go-to guy, our premier illustrator for Lobsterman.